What's up, everybody? I'm Jesse Showalter, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the differences between working freelance, working for a creative agency, and working for a startup. These are three of the most common places you're going to find employment as a creative. I've had the chance to work in all three of these situations, so I thought it would be interesting to break down the similarities and the differences and give you a little bit of an expectation on which of the three is the right one for you. And the good news is, at the end of this video, if you don't like the sound of any of these, then maybe you could be a farmer. Before I get started, word of warning, everything I'm about to tell you is anecdotal and experiential at best. This is just me sharing my opinion and my advice in hopes of helping you. So with that being said, take everything with a grain of salt. Good? Okay. All right, with all warnings out of the way, let's do some brief overviews of these three different work situations. Agencies can be a super rad place to work. They're either a creative agency, a marketing agency, or a combination of both. They offer a steady income, steady paycheck, job security kind of, and the ability to have varying projects coming in without the requirement of you having to deal with a client most times. You also get the added benefit of being around other people who are like-minded, creative, that can look over your shoulder and give you input and feedback on your work. Freelancing, on the other hand, means that you are the sole proprietor of your own creative business. You do all the creative work. You do all the client interfacing, all the project management, the emails, the taxes, the everything. Freelancing does offer stability depending on how you do it, but a lot of times people find themselves in a little bit more of a feast or famine kind of financial situation. You don't have to be, and you shouldn't be, but it takes some time to learn how not to be. Startups can be an absolutely wonderful environment to work for. There's a lot of startups out there that are really successful, but unfortunately there's even more that have bombed and gone under. So choose your startup wisely. That being said, there is kind of week to week and month to month job security, but if you're looking for that 5 to 10 year job security, startup land might not be the place for you. On the other hand, work is very interesting. Usually you have to be really agile. You never know what's going to happen each day when you come into work. You might have to pivot quickly, and that's because you're trying to get the product into the market and really gain traction with it. And it's a learning process for each product as you go. And so startups can be fun. It keeps you on your toes. And the people are usually pretty cool. So that's startups. Okay, next up, let's talk about the atmospheres that you might experience, starting with the agency atmosphere. The agency atmosphere can make you feel like you've arrived, like you've hit some sort of big time. Everybody's name has a creative kind of title pinned to it, and the Keurig is always rocking coffee for you, your chair is ergonomic, and you're rocking dual 27-inch monitors, and that feels good in your heart. I will say that when I worked at an agency, there was always a small feeling of tension, like I hope I'm doing good enough today. Oh my gosh, is my job on the line? I really need to deliver. I'm on a deadline. I gotta stay late. And so maybe that's not for you, but there are a lot of good things that agencies offer as well. Freelancing, on the other hand, means you can work from your pajamas. The atmosphere is whatever you want to make it. Do you want to work only 1 week a month? Do you want to work every single day, 18-hour days? It's really up to you. The atmosphere can either be stressful or really peaceful and relaxing depending on how you run your business. Being a freelancer means that you are a business person and not just a creative. The atmosphere of working at a startup feels a little bit different than the others because every day when you wake up, you feel like you have a sense of ownership over the product. Startups are also pretty awesome because there's so many of them popping up. They're competing for talented people. They're really trying to find talented people. And I think that the startup community as a whole has learned that taking care of people is a really good idea. That's really attractive to talented people. And so you'll see a lot of startups that are offering great benefits, awesome vacation kind of policies, and you have stock options and even sometimes catered lunch and ping pong tables. Like it feels like a great place to go to work most days. Okay, let's talk about the types of projects that you might work on, starting with agencies. I wish I could say that at an agency, every single project that you're gonna work on is like a mind-blowing big brand that's gonna make your portfolio absolutely shine, but it's not necessarily always the case. Sometimes you have to work on stuff you don't want to, but I will say that it is a steady flow of projects and a good variety of projects. Like when I worked at a creative agency, 1 week I'd be working on a plumbing website, and the next week I'd be working on a no smoking campaign and marketing stuff for them. And so it just kind of depends on the agency you work for, but in general, steady flow, good variety, and decent timelines. I would say as a freelancer, you'll start out doing any kind of project you can get your hands on. You're just hungry for work. you're hungry to pay the bills, and you are hungry to get established. But eventually that'll start tapering off and you'll start doing the type of work that you want to. You'll be able to say no to clients more and find the types of clients and projects that you really enjoy. You do have to keep in mind that beggars can't always be choosers. And so sometimes you do need a project and you have to do a project, and that's just what it is. The types of projects that you'll work on at a startup are very different than the other two, because usually you're working on one product over a long period of time and you're breaking it into chunks or pieces and you're just kind of sprinting forward on those pieces, but it's all going towards one thing day in and day out. That's what you eat, sleep, and breathe. That can feel a bit arduous at times if you're not used to it. You're constantly focused on one thing. I will say that there's a benefit of working on one thing over a long period of time. I feel like you learn how to be a more consistent creative person. Like you learn like what it is to stay the course and how beautiful that really is. You also learn so much about one product or brand that you can iterate and concept and create prototypes faster than you could if you're constantly going back to the drawing board and doing everything from scratch. Okay, next up, let's talk about personal growth, starting with the agency life. At an agency, the type of personal growth that you'll experience is, I would say, learning a lot because of the varied types of projects that are coming in. I think you learn what it is to be on a deadline, and you learn how to research a brand or a company or a project so that you can complete it on time. And I think you just learn kind of the project flow or the lifespan of a project, and that helps you to grow. It challenges you time-wise and skill-wise and style-wise. I feel like working freelance will give you the opportunity to grow as a creative, but so much more, it's going to personally grow you, like emotionally grow you, grow your responsibility and your character. And that was really my experience when I freelanced. Working at a startup, the type of personal growth you'll experience is, I feel like, one of camaraderie, like really loving what you do and learning how to take ownership and saying, I love this, I want this to succeed. You can't go to work every day at a startup and punch a clock and just try to do the bare minimum. You have to go there and believe in what you're doing. And that also stirs up some different things like personally in you and addresses maybe some shortcomings that you might have. So I think that all three places to work offer different types of personal growth, but I think they're all equally important. Lastly, my favorite part, let's talk about frustration. So far, everything has been so positive. Everything's been so awesome, but now let's talk about the negatives. The frustrations in the agency life are a real thing. There's scope creep, there's deadlines. Sometimes you have to work extra hours. And on top of all of that, the most frustrating thing that's possible is working alongside other people that personalities kind of clash together. And so you have to understand that you're in context of other people, and sometimes you're not always gonna get along. Sometimes you're not gonna be best friends with your coworkers at your agency, and you have to be prepared for that. The only solution that I have is the golden rule, which is, can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Freelance can also be very, very real, and there's some similarities between agencies and freelance. You might have some client frustrations. Clients don't understand your value. It's hard to find clients. You're pitching a client and it wasted your time. There's so much that can happen with clients. So much more of the frustrations that you'll deal with as a freelancer actually have to do with you yourself. Like me, internally, I forgot to send the email, or I didn't get them the deliverables on time, or I misquoted the project and now I'm losing money. And so the frustrations cease to be external and they start to be more internal. Working in a startup has offered, in my opinion, much less frustration than the other two experiences that I've had, but that might just be my experience. I think I work for super awesome people, an awesome company, and great founders who really love me and take really, really good care of me. If I was gonna nitpick and try to find frustrations with startup life, I would say it's the frustration of constantly putting out new versions and pushing new releases of the same product. Sometimes it can feel a little bit like you're on a hamster wheel and like, are you ever truly gonna hit the finish line? Because the truth is there is no finish line in a startup. And so that can kind of be the frustration, like, man, can't we just be done yet? Well, that's it. Those are my thoughts on agencies, freelancing, and working for a startup. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make lots of videos about design and development and career, just like this one, so maybe stick around. If you have any questions whatsoever, leave them down in the comments. I hope you guys are having an awesome week designing amazing things, making amazing things, and enjoying your career. I'll see you in the next one.